If you're a minimum wage worker or you're have a critical job within the community, such as a fireman or a police officer or school teacher, and you cannot afford to live in that community, that's a problem.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Missions That Made Them. I am your host, Jason Verdelli. This isn't just a podcast, but rather it's a movement. It's a movement designed to make the world a better place by bringing more awareness to the great work of the people and organizations making a difference, and more importantly, how you can help. We live in a world today surrounded by a narrative in the media that focuses in on negativity and draws attention to the problems, but not the solutions. Our guests represent the solutions, not the problems. And with that, I am super excited today to have on our guest, Beth Lyons with South Shore Habitat for Humanity. And we're going to hear Beth's story. We're going to learn more about Habitat for Humanity as well. I think there's, for some of you out there have maybe heard about it, there's probably a lot of things you don't know about it. And for some of those of you maybe have maybe even heard about it, but are not sure what they do, you're going to find that out today as well. So super excited to hear the story of Beth's story here. And without further ado, Beth, welcome to The Missions That Made Them.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So great. Excellent. So tell everybody, just in general, what is Habitat for Humanity?
Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit organization that builds affordable housing for low-income families in need. And it builds strength, stability, and self-reliance in families and gives them an opportunity to build a much better life for themselves.
That's awesome. So typically, what is the audience that you're typically serving? Can you go into that just a little bit? I know people that need the help and everything else, but can you touch on just some of the different types of people that you serve?
Sure. So when we are ready to build a house, right now we're getting ready to build 2 homes. We put out applications, and we get applications from all different people, families, individuals, people who want to be first-time homeowners. Their income doesn't allow them the opportunity to purchase a home. In our area right now, the average price of a home is $700,000.
Wow. So, yeah. That's crazy.
And a 1-bedroom apartment is $2,200. So if you're a low-income family, you're a minimum wage worker, you're struggling to find decent, affordable housing. And this program allows them to have housing and start, getting more opportunities for a better life.
That's incredible. So tell us a little bit about, I'm always curious before going into the organization, Beth, I mean, what attracted you to the organization, to Habitat for Humanity?
Well, I've always worked in nonprofit organizations. I started in development and have worked for nonprofits all over the country. My last position, I worked for a nonprofit that built housing for severely injured veterans. And so I really liked that construction end of it. And I was getting an understanding of it. And this position came available. And I started at Habitat as a senior development officer. And 3 years later, now I'm the executive director.
Yeah. That's has a way of, the will is a way of finding its way in its journey to the people that really have that passion, right? You really get involved, you understand everything about the organization, and eventually you end up kind of running the show or setting, really taking a hold of that mission and that vision and driving that forward, which is really awesome. So Beth, so tell us some of the things we understand what Habitat Humanity does. What are some of the things that are sort of unique to maybe to some of the area that you're in? So you're in South Shore, Massachusetts, correct?
Correct.
So what is there, I know there's Habitats for Humanities, around the country, but, are there certain things that, local Habitat Humanities deal with, maybe something that you're dealing with that maybe other areas might not be? Sounds like $700,000 homes is definitely a difference, because at least where I'm at, like in Pennsylvania here, it's, definitely not like that. Of course, we are sitting at a time where the market is inflated for sure. Which doesn't help things if wages aren't going up along with that. But so what are some of the unique things though to the local side of what you're doing?
So really, I mean, it is about affordability in towns,
Yeah.
and it's also about diversity. These towns that are, have housing costs at over $700,000, or even rent costs. I mean, we've heard stories of families with four children living in a one-bedroom apartment because that's all they could afford. And then there's families who are working 2 to 3 jobs just to pay rent. But diversity in these towns that are fairly wealthy towns is really important. And you think about it, if you're a minimum wage worker, or you're have a critical job within the community, such as a fireman or a police officer or school teacher, and you cannot afford to live in that community, that's a problem.
Huge problem.
There's a fire in the town and you're 20 minutes away. It is a problem.
Well, especially too, we live in a weird time now too, with inflation the way it is at record highs. I think it's been the inflation's, what is it, record 40-year record high right now as we do this podcast, which is spring of 2022. But it's so that doesn't help, on top of everything else, especially when you have the people that are big time contributors to the local community, right? Your firefighters, first responders. I'm not saying everybody is everybody's important, but at the same time, those are the individuals that are, they're performing critical work, like life-saving kind of work. And so we need to make sure that they have, affordable housing, and they have a way to, just to live, right? Which is important. So how does, what does the supporting community look like for you? So what are ways that, especially for, a Habitat for Humanity, or maybe specifically local for you, that, somebody in the community can just get involved? I saw on the website there, it looks like you can donate your car, you can do all these things. What are some of the ways that you recommend people support you?
Oh, there's so many different ways. As you said, the Cars for Homes program is a great way. It's a tax-deductible donation if you give your car to Habitat. You can also support our projects that are going on, which helps us fund the construction. Volunteerism. We're a volunteer-based organization, and we need volunteers to build each and every house. And it takes about 500 volunteers to build one house.
Wow.
And so that's critical. Yeah.
Now, are there any construction? I'm just curious. Is there any, do you require it all? Hey, you have to have the, do you interview some of the volunteers? Hey, can you swing a hammer? Can you operate a saw? How do you select those? Just curious.
People sign up. You don't need to know anything.
Okay.
You come and you'll learn a lot. Our construction manager and our construction team are great at teaching. And if you don't want to swing a hammer, or you don't want to, work with tools, you might be able to paint. Or maybe you just want to give lunch to the volunteers. So there's a variety of ways that you can help.
That's so cool. Yeah, we think just on the construction side, but if you have the, hey, you don't want to do that, or you can't do it. Some people are in a scenario where they can physically do those things, but you can do it, by supporting, buying lunch for them, or, painting. So if you're able to do certain things like that, that's cool. That you're basically, if you have a willing person who's willing to help, then you could find a spot for them, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what is the, is there, any kind of interesting, is there any, interesting stats or anything you're finding right now in the way the market is, the way the current environment is, like that, that would really, kind of indicate the future need here, right? So as with inflation going up or whatever, are there more? Do you find more people are struggling to find housing, or where do you see the gap, I guess, between where we're at today and then where we want to go, and what are the problems there that are keeping the organization back from fulfilling its mission?
Well, the need is increasing significantly, and people are paying more than 50% of their annual income on housing, which leaves little left over for food, healthcare, and
isn't it supposed to be a third? Isn't it supposed to be like a third or something? They say like at least like the very top end of your income should be at least, I think it's like a 25% or 30% should be towards housing. Like that's like top. Like, I think that banks like approve you for and stuff, but
yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. We go by 30%. And so anybody who becomes a Habitat family homeowner, their mortgage is less than 30% of their annual income.
That's
so
awesome.
They can spend more money on education, healthcare. But going back to your question, the need is so great right now. And our goal is to increase the number of homes we build. So we're just about to start a project for 2 homes, and we have right on the tail of that another 2 homes. But there's also a whole different area that we are going to embark on, and that is aging in place. So right now, for seniors who are on a fixed income with the high costs of living today, they can't afford to do anything to their homes, and their homes may be in disrepair. They may need a ramp. They may need grab bars to make the home safe. Their homes may not meet code, but there's nothing they can do about it. But they can now call us, and they can apply to the program. And if they meet all the requirements, we will go out there and we will make their homes safe so that they don't have to leave.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't even realize. I always thought like new construction, but yeah, like taking individuals that can't do that or don't have the capacity to do that, but need the help, need the handicap ramps, things like that. How do you find? Just curious, how do you find? How does the organization identify those opportunities?
For the Aging in Place program, the critical home repair, I'm reaching out to all of the Council on Agings within our communities.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And we serve 32 cities and towns, so there's quite a few Council on Aging, and just working, spreading the word, letting people know. And my guess is we're probably going to have more applications than we can fulfill. But our goal is to fulfill those applications, accepted applications. But to do that, we need money. So, we have to pay for the materials, and we have a staff member. We'll bring on volunteers if needed, but we still have to pay for those repairs.
Yeah. That's so how does somebody here, one of the biggest things I try to emphasize here in the podcast is, ways for people to get involved, right? To try to get the stories and how they can be part of the solution. So, obviously, and if you're watching this, listening to this, be sure to go to sshabitat.org. So sshabitat.org. You can check them out. But what are some of the action items that people can take? I mean, going to the website, looks like you go to the website. You can easily have a volunteer tab up there. You have a get involved link, so you can donate money, donate vehicle, donate stock. What would you prefer as the besides all the above, right? That would be an obvious one, but is there certain things that help you more than others?
Well, one of the things I did not mention is that we have companies that provide services and products for free. So, for example, in the home we just completed, it cost us $300,000 to build that home. Out of that $300,000, almost $90,000 was donated materials and services. So when you come down to the bottom line, we're spending like $210,000 or $220,000 to build that home, and there's no way we can build it for $300,000. But an example is we have a company local that is a plumbing company, and they came out and they put all the plumbing in, including sorry.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
Including, the boiler, the water heater, all of that. And we have IBEW, which is, they come out and put in all of our electrical for free. Wow. So this is saving a tremendous amount of money for us, and allowing us to raise the money, enough money to get started. And so that's another way people can give back.
Products and services.
Really important.
So if you're a company and you offer, supplies, things like that, is to come to you and figure out a way to do that. And obviously, I would imagine that's all tax. I mean, they can write all that stuff off, right? Because you're donating their materials and it's it's donating their part of their assets, right? So
yes. They have to talk to their tax advisor, but most companies are.
I'm not giving any disclaimer, no tax advice here, but but highly suggest talk to your CPA about that for sure. But yeah, either way, there's obviously reasons why organizations and companies do that outside of just supporting their own social responsibility, and that's a big thing, man. If you want to attract talent, a lot of companies right now struggle with attracting talent. You want to attract talent, though. What's important, especially these days, is social responsibility. So, employees want to see that you're giving back, that you're a member of a big part of the community, everything else, because it gives them that good sense of purpose, that good sense of connection with the company. That's an extremely important, thing to do. So,
companies can come and build with us too, which we have a wonderful team building program. And so they'll bring a small team of people, and it's so rewarding for them. Other ways people can give is we have a gala every year. You can be a sponsor or buy tickets to the gala, which will be held in June. We have a golf tournament in October, and we also have the Ride for Habitat, which is in September. So I think we have something for everybody.
I'll say for sure. Yeah. The, the riding, the golfing, I mean, the gala, everything. I mean, that's awesome too. And these are obviously really, really great events to get involved in. It's obviously very good for the organization, right? To keep everything flowing. I think I remember seeing I've seen at least bicyclists around here. I know that I've seen the Habitat, like that being I think they do that in other areas as well, I believe. So, that's really, really cool of, getting involved into the community. And, what's cool about Habitat for Humanity is because it is a local thing, right? It is a very community-based organization. So it's not like they have a bunch of dollars at the top. And then, not saying those are bad organizations, but at the same time, like the dollars and cents that you donate are being pushed back in locally to your own local economy and local community. So, which helps everybody out. This is all full circle, especially local. It's sometimes hard to see it like nationwide, right? Some of the impacts of that, impacts of their dollars and donations. But man, like you can say, hey, we donated and that helped them, build 5 other homes. And this helped, it kind of comes back in full circle, right? It's the feeling you get from knowing that you've helped other people's lives and the impact that's had, not only into their lives, but also the people that have taken on the project, right? Like the teamwork, it could be a team building exercise in the process. So if you're looking for a way to be able to, if you got a company or whatever that is, like get involved in that way. Get outside, right? I think
Exactly.
gosh, it's like we live in, if you have an inside job, hey, this is a great, literally an inside job. Then, what a better way to get out and to get some fresh air and support a great cause. So
And
perfect. Perfect.
a lot of times when you're building with a family. Our
Right.
families have to give 250 hours for each adult of volunteer time.
Mm.
So it's fun to build alongside them. And it makes you feel, that you're really doing something very important.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to actually, you get to know the people that you're benefiting, which is really,
Mhm.
really important. Right. What a better way to connect with your volunteer as the time that you're putting in as a volunteer to really actually see who you're actually impacting is tremendous. So that's great. That's
Well,
great. So
one of the things you I believe you were going to ask me about is a story about one of our
yes.
families to show the
Yeah.
impact.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Share a story.
okay, so we have built 63 homes. So there's 63 families that have been helped. And one of the stories that I love to tell is about a family, a mother, single mom with two boys, both autistic. And she was living in a basement apartment where the windows didn't close, the oven did not work,
Mm.
and it was cold, but that was all she could afford. And the landlord came to her and told her he was selling the building. And she had no
Mm.
place to go. She was nothing she could afford. So she applied to our program and was accepted and came and built her house and is now living in a house where her boys have their own bedrooms. And she, is able to pay her mortgage and be proud that she owns something. But in the end, her two boys now had the opportunity to go to college. And both boys went to a local college, community college. And I believe one has graduated so far. So it's an opportunity that they probably wouldn't have had if they, were still living in, an apartment that wasn't decent.
Yeah, and the fact that they were basically being kind of forced out, right? Like, hey, landlord selling or is saying, hey, you got to get out. And how many other people are in those scenarios too? And what you did is really created the opportunity for them to make that possible by providing them with some ownership, right? Ownership, in a new home and everything else without that. Especially with when you have children that have they have conditions and things that can make it a bit more difficult, right? To make that possible, and there's a little bit more involvement, either time wise, financially, other things like that other families might not have. So
Exactly.
that is really, really awesome. Is there any other stories or places that people that are listening, watching to this, that they can go and see that maybe on the website or any of the
Um,
social media?
yeah, they can through our social media. Our website has some information. It's hard to tell the story of 63 families, but it's, most of, I'd say the majority of our families' children have been able to go to college because parents have been able to save.
Yeah.
When you have a Habitat home from South Shore Habitat, the monthly mortgage, interest, and insurance averages between $800 and $900 a month. And that
That's great.
allows them to spend more money on education, better health care, better food. And they're also moving into these communities that they would not have been able to afford. And most of the communities we serve have wonderful opportunities for families through their education in their school system, other local things in town that they can participate in. So
That's
it's
awesome.
just it's a win-win for these families.
Yeah, and that you're really, again, you're lowering the barrier to entry and all this other stuff, like getting an education and opening up opportunities that wouldn't be there because you said earlier, over 50% of a lot of families are finding over 50% of their housing, or they're dealing with 50% of their cost for housing. And so that's a challenge. We all know that, especially if you're a family starting out, it is hard. It is real hard, no matter, if you got a great paying job, this and that, like it can be very hard depending on the scenario that you're in too. You might have a better paying job, but you have all these other bills because you have, in some cases, you might have bills going out to maybe medical, a lot of medical bills. You might have other things that are tied to maybe something that has happened in your life, which not everybody else has to deal with. And I think this is the kind of stuff that goes under the radar for a lot of us that don't deal with that per se, but we don't realize, hey, this is some of the scenarios that people are in, and everything you're doing, Beth, and the team there is creating possibility and bringing hope. I would imagine is the kind of the key benefit there to bringing hope to people. And man, when you see that, when you see somebody who didn't have hope, who was down in the dumps and everything else because of it, and hey, here's opportunity, here's hope, here's how great this world really is, especially in a world where they're constantly being bombarded with negative media, right? And you pull up the news, it's negative. Whereas, hey, here's the positive side. What about the great organizations like yours, which are making that difference? It's just it's wonderful living in a world knowing that we have organizations like yours that are out there that are making that difference. So
thank you. Well, we're about to hand over a home to a family, and next week, and that's probably one of my favorite times. Is that the families, just to see not only the excitement of moving into a home, but kind of the relief. And we try to be part of our family's future. They reach out to us. We have one family that received their home a year ago, single dad and his son, and he would come to our office and mow our lawn every week.
Oh, wow.
Because he was so grateful.
Yeah. So, that is so cool.
And they become part of our family too.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else, Beth, anything else before we hop off, anything else that you wanted to share, maybe that people wouldn't know necessarily by going to the website, or anything about the organization?
Yes, there's the one myth about Habitat is that we give these homes away for free, which is not true. These families purchase their own home. We give a handout, we give a hand up, not a handout.
Right.
So we teach them, we give them financial education, and we do everything possible to make them successful homeowners. But they are paying a mortgage. They do pay taxes. There are expenses to being a homeowner, but it's a responsibility that they're learning to take on.
Yeah, you're really building the person, you're building the family, not just giving it away. This isn't a lottery. This isn't a sweepstakes of any kind. Hey, well, look, we won a new house. No, you're building them up. You're assisting them. You're that guiding hand, but you're also not just guiding them in providing them with the housing and everything, but also the education that goes along with it, the finances, everything else, which we all know that is an important life skill to have. Yes. So that's really important. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that is kind of not necessarily out there, sort of facing everybody, just like the what you just shared?
I just want to make sure everybody understands that Habitat does not build these homes alone. It's a community effort, not only for funding, but for construction, for working with the families. And I have to say, we've been so blessed that so many of the neighbors are so welcoming to these families and are there and supportive, which makes it a lot easier when you're moving into a new neighborhood. You don't know anybody.
Big time.
It's just, it's about community.
It really is. It really is. Well, Beth, thank you for stopping by, coming on today's podcast. We really got some really great insights here into Habitat for Humanity, or the South Shore Habitat for Humanity, and also Habitat for Humanity in general. So, some really enlightening facts. I think the best thing for everybody to do right now is go to sshabitat.org, check them out. Be sure to get involved into the upcoming events. Be sure to check out the volunteer opportunities, all the different donation opportunities that exist. It's all on the website. You have a very robust website in that sense. Where you can see everything, see all the possibilities and ways to get involved, which is really the point here in the podcast, is to give you that guidance and that direction to do so. So Beth, you've been an amazing guest today. I appreciate your time. Any last words before I sign off?
I just want to say thank you for allowing us to share our story, and we hope that more people will have a better understanding of what Habitat for Humanity does.
Excellent. And for those of you out there right now, I know Beth had shared one of the best ways to support them is word of mouth. So one of the best ways is to share this video wherever this is at. Be sure to share this out onto your social media. Be sure to share out with anybody you really know. I think Beth had also shared the different audiences. With reaching out to people that can provide the support, right? Can maybe supply companies, even companies in general that say if you know an HR person who's looking for a way to get the team together, do a team building exercise, reach out to them. Be sure to share it maybe with them. Be sure to share it with your family, your friends, anybody else that would be a good influence on the organization. By hitting that share button. The other thing you can do here is also subscribe to the Missions That Made Them. We're constantly interviewing we're interviewing nonprofit organizations, great nonprofit organizations, just like the South Shore Habitat for Humanity, to understand their story and to enlighten you in ways that you can become part of that solution that's going to make this world a greater place. So, without anything else, or with that said, Beth, again, thanks for coming on, and for the rest of you, stay amazing and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.